We did everything couples do. We just never said the word. If someone had asked me when it started, I wouldn't have known how to answer. There was no first date, no confession, no moment where everything suddenly changed. There was just us. He had a toothbrush at my place before I realized it was permanent. A mug he always used. A side of the bed that somehow became his without a conversation. We cooked together like it was routine. Argued lightly about music. Split groceries without keeping track. When one of us was tired, the other knew without asking. It didn't feel romantic. Felt normal. That should have scared me more than it did. We met years ago through mutual friends. Back then, we were just two guys who got along easily. Texts turned into calls. Calls turned into nights that ran too late. Somewhere along the way, he stopped going home. Or maybe I stopped noticing when he didn't. On weeknights, he'd show up with takeout and kick his shoes off as the place belonged to him. On weekends, we'd wake up late, tangled in sheets, and we pretended not to notice. Nothing happened that shouldn't have, but everything felt like it had weight. One night, I stood in the kitchen chopping vegetables while he leaned against the counter scrolling through his phone. "You know," he said casually, "my mom asked if I was seeing someone. I didn't look up." "What did you say?" "That I was busy." I nodded. That was our thing. Answers that weren't lies, but weren't truths either. Later, while we ate, he reached over and wiped something from the corner of my mouth without thinking. The gesture was automatic, intimate. We both froze for half a second. Then he laughed it off. "You're messy." I smiled. "You're rude." And just like that, the moment slipped back into silence. That night, we lay in bed facing opposite directions. Close enough that our backs touched. I stared at the wall, listening to his breathing even out. Friends don't do this, I thought. But we'd been breaking that rule for a long time. The next morning, he made coffee while I showered. I came out to find him wearing one of my shirts, barefoot, humming quietly as he'd always been there. "You're going to be late," I said. He checked the time. Worth it. That word stayed with me all day. Worth it. It wasn't just the physical closeness. It was the way he knew things. The way he noticed when I was quiet. The way he stayed when I didn't ask him to. When my car broke down, he handled it. When I had a bad day, he ordered food I liked without asking. We didn't talk about feelings. We lived them. The first time someone mistook us for a couple, it happened at the grocery store. "Do you want the same brand as last time?" the cashier asked him, nodding at me. He hesitated, just a fraction of a second, then said, "Yeah." On the walk home, neither of us mentioned it. But something in the air felt different. He reached for my hand without realizing it. Stopped. Let it drop. That night, lying in bed, I finally asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Hey, yeah, what are we doing?" He didn't answer right away. I felt him shift, turning toward me in the dark. "I was hoping you wouldn't ask that yet," he said quietly. "Why?" "Because everything's good," he replied. "And naming things changes them." I understood that fear. I lived in it too. Still, the question hung between us. Because deep down, we both knew something. This wasn't casual. This wasn't temporary. We weren't just close. We were building a life together without admitting it. And sooner or later, someone was going to say it out loud. The question didn't come from either of us. That's what made it worse. Came from someone who didn't know our rules. Someone who hadn't learned how carefully we avoided naming things. We were at a friend's place for dinner, nothing fancy. Just a few people, music low, plates stacked wherever they fit. I almost didn't go. He convinced me. "It'll be fun," he said. "We'll stay for an hour." We never stayed for just an hour. At some point, I ended up in the kitchen with a drink I didn't need, talking to someone I barely knew. He stood a few feet away, laughing with another group. Every few minutes, our eyes met, not checking in, just acknowledging. Later, someone asked if we were leaving together. He answered before I could. "Yeah." Simple, natural, the way couples answer. We were putting on our jackets when it happened. A friend, someone well-meaning, careless, smiled at us and said, "So how long have you two been together?" The room didn't go silent, but it felt like it did. I looked at him. He looked at me. For a split second, everything we'd been pretending not to build was suddenly right there between us. He laughed lightly. "We're not," I interrupted without thinking. "We live together." The words landed heavier than I expected. A pause. "Oh," the friend said, smiling wider now. "So, basically married." He laughed again. I didn't. On the walk home, the night air felt colder than it should have. We didn't talk at first. Just walked side by side, shoulders almost touching, hands brushing occasionally like they always did. Finally, he spoke. "You didn't have to say that." "I didn't mean it like that," I replied. "It just came out." He nodded. "I know." But something in his voice felt tight. Back at the apartment, he kicked off his shoes and leaned against the door, arms crossed. "That made things weird," he said. "For who?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. "For me," he admitted. "A little." That stung. "We do everything couples do," I said carefully. "People are going to notice." "I know," he said. "I just didn't expect it to be said out loud." Neither did I. We stood there, facing each other in the quiet. No TV. No distractions. "I like what we have," he continued. "I don't want to ruin it by forcing it into something." I took a breath. "And if it already is something?" He looked away. That answer told me everything. Later that night, we lay in bed like usual. Not touching, not far apart, but the space between us felt louder. I turned toward him. "Hey, yeah, I'm not asking for labels," I said. "I just don't want to feel like I imagined all of this." He rolled onto his side to face me. "You didn't imagine it," he said quickly. "I'm here, aren't I?" "Yes," I said. "But you're also holding the door open." He frowned. "What door?" "The one where you can leave," I replied. "And pretend this was nothing." That hurt him. I could tell. "I wouldn't do that," he said. "But you could," I replied softly. Silence followed. He reached out then, not dramatically, just placed his hand on my arm. A grounding touch. "I don't know how to say this without messing it up," he said. "I just need a little more time." I nodded. I always nodded. But lying there in the dark, listening to his breathing slow, I realized something important. We weren't avoiding labels because they didn't fit. We were avoiding them because one of us was afraid of what they would mean. And sooner or later, that fear was going to ask something of me. I noticed it before he did. That was the problem. Started small. The way his jaw tightened when someone laughed too close to me. The way his hand found my lower back when we stood in a crowd. Casual, unclaimed. But there. We were at a birthday gathering. Loud enough to disappear into. Familiar enough to relax. I hadn't planned on staying long. Neither had he. I was talking to someone I just met. Easy conversation, nothing charged, when I felt it. Not a touch. Presence. I turned and saw him watching us from across the room. Not angry. Confused. When our eyes met, he smiled and looked away, like he hadn't been staring. I excused myself and went to the kitchen. He followed a minute later, pretending to check the fridge. "Having fun?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "You?" He shrugged. "It's fine." That word again. He stood too close. Not touching. Just near enough that I could feel the tension rolling off him. "Who was that?" he asked, like it didn't matter. "Just someone I met tonight." He nodded. Opened the fridge. Closed it. "Cool." Silence pressed in. "You okay?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. "I don't know why," he said finally. "But I didn't like that." The honesty surprised both of us. "Didn't like what?" I asked. He leaned back against the counter, exhaling. "You talking to him." "Why?" He frowned. "I don't know." That was the truth. I studied him, really studied him, and saw something he hadn't named yet. Jealousy doesn't always come with certainty. Sometimes it comes with fear. "You don't get to be upset about that," I said gently. Not if we're whatever this is. He looked at me then, directly. I know, he said. That's why I'm annoyed at myself. We went back to the living room together. He stayed closer this time. Not possessive. Protective. When someone tried to pull me into a game, he answered for me. He's good, he said. We're leaving soon. Outside, the night air cooled everything down. We walked in silence for a block before he spoke. I don't like feeling that way, he said. It's not fair to you. No, I agreed. It's not. He stopped walking. So what do we do? He asked. The question hung there, heavy and honest. I thought about all the things we didn't say. All the ways we lived like something we refused to admit. We stop pretending, I said. Or we stop this. His face tightened. Those aren't equal options, he said quietly. No, I replied. They're just the only honest ones. We stood there under a streetlight, the city humming around us. I'm scared, he admitted. If we name it, we can lose it. And if we don't, I said, we lose it anyway. He didn't argue. That scared me more than if he had. Back home, we moved through the apartment like strangers learning each other again. Brushed teeth, changed clothes, routine suddenly fragile. In bed, he turned toward me instead of away. His hand hovered near mine. Didn't touch. I don't want anyone else, he said softly. I just don't know how to say what that means. I closed the distance and took his hand. Then don't say it yet, I replied. Just don't deny it either. He squeezed my fingers. That night, he didn't let go. And for the first time, I understood something clearly. Jealousy wasn't the problem. It was the proof. It didn't happen the way I expected. There was no argument, no breaking point, no raised voices, just a night that felt heavier than the others. We stayed in. Again. Rain tapped softly against the windows, the kind that makes the world feel smaller. He cooked. I dried dishes. We moved around each other like muscle memory. At one point, he reached for something behind, and his hand stayed at my waist a second too long. Neither of us commented. We ate in the living room, knees touching, sharing a blanket without talking about it. The TV played something forgettable. I kept waiting for him to speak. He kept opening his mouth as he might. When the credits rolled, he muted the screen. That was new. You ever feel like we're circling something? He asked. My heart kicked hard. Yeah, I said carefully. All the time. He rubbed his palms together, nervous in a way I didn't often see. I don't want to mess this up, he said. What we have, it's good. I know, I replied, but good doesn't mean finished. He looked at me then, really looked, like he was finally seeing the cost of what we were avoiding. I think about saying it, he admitted, all the time. Saying what? I asked, though I knew. He swallowed. His phone buzzed. The sound was sharp in the quiet room. He glanced down instinctively. I watched the moment slip away from his face. I should take this, he said. Of course he should. I nodded, too practiced at pretending not to care. He stepped into the hallway, voice low. I couldn't hear the words, only the pauses. The tone meant responsibility, obligation. When he came back, something had shifted. I'm sorry, he said. Work. Yeah, I said. No problem. We both knew it was. He sat farther away this time. The space between us wasn't accidental. I waited. He didn't close it. Later, in bed, we lay on our backs staring at the ceiling. Our shoulders brushed. That was all. I almost said it, he whispered. My chest tightened. I know. I don't know why I stopped, he said. I turned my head toward him. I do, I said gently. Because once you say it, you have to decide what comes next. Silence followed. I don't want to choose wrong, he said. That's still a choice, I replied. He didn't answer. The rain outside got louder. Or maybe I was just listening harder. I need to know something, I said quietly. Not tonight. Not right now. But soon. He tensed. What? If you're ever going to say it, I continued. Or if I'm just waiting for something you're not ready to give. He closed his eyes. That's not fair, he murmured. I know, I said. Neither is this. He reached out then, finding my hand in the dark. Held it like an apology. I don't want to lose you, he said. I squeezed back. I don't want to lose myself, I replied. We lay there holding hands, both awake, both knowing something important had passed between us. Not love confessed, but love acknowledged and postponed. That night, I realized something painful, almost saying it can hurt more than silence, because it proves the words are there, and choosing not to say them means choosing something else instead. It didn't end with a fight. That's what surprised me most. It ended with distance, not the obvious kind, not slammed doors or ignored messages, just space. Small at first, easy to excuse. He came home later than usual, left earlier, stopped lingering in doorways like he used to. When I talked, he listened, but differently, like someone careful not to promise anything just by staying too long. I noticed it because I had learned his rhythms. That's what happens when you build a life with someone, even unofficially. You feel the changes before you can explain them. One night, I asked if he wanted to eat together. Maybe later, he said. Later never came. I sat at the table alone, staring at 2 plates I'd taken out without thinking. That was the moment something in me went still. Not angry, tired. The next few days felt heavier, like I was holding my breath without realizing it. I stopped reaching for him first. Stopped adjusting my schedule around his. Stopped pretending I didn't notice. He noticed that. Of course he did. You've been quiet, he said one evening, standing in the doorway of my room. Have I? I replied. He nodded. Yeah, different. I set my book down. Do you want to talk about it? I asked. He hesitated. That hesitation used to make me patient. This time it made me honest. I can't keep living in almost, I said. It's starting to feel like I'm paused while you're deciding. His face tightened. I told you I needed time. I gave you time, I said gently. I gave you comfort, space, loyalty without a name. He sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees. I never asked you to do that, he said quietly. No, I agreed. You just accepted it. That landed. I care about you, he said. You know that. I do, I replied. But caring isn't the same as choosing. Silence filled the room. I don't know if I'm ready, he admitted. I nodded. And for the first time, that answer didn't feel like hope. Felt like information. Then I need to do something different, I said. His head snapped up. What do you mean? I mean, I can't keep acting like we're building something if you're not sure you want it, I said. I need to step back. His voice dropped. From me. From waiting, I replied. He looked like he wanted to argue, then like he wanted to ask me not to. Instead, he said nothing. That hurt more than anything else. The next morning, I packed a small bag. Not dramatically, not to punish him, just enough to breathe. I'll stay with a friend for a bit, I said. For how long? He asked. I don't know, I answered honestly. He nodded. Too quickly. I don't want to lose you, he said. I paused at the door. Then don't treat me like something you can decide on later, I said softly. He didn't stop me. Walking away didn't feel like strength. Felt like grief. But it also felt like the truth. That night, lying in a different bed, I realized something important. Waiting isn't love if it costs you your voice. And if someone needs the threat of losing you to choose you, then the choice was never fully yours to begin with. He didn't say it right away. That part matters. A week passed, then another. I stayed with a friend, trying to remember what it felt like to live without adjusting myself around someone else's uncertainty. It was quieter than I expected. Lonelier too. But there was relief in the quiet. I slept better, thought clearer. I stopped waiting for my phone to light up. When he finally called, it wasn't dramatic. Can we talk? He asked. I agreed. We met at a cafe we'd never shared before. Neutral ground. No memories clinging to the walls. He looked tired. Not broken. Just honest in a way he hadn't been before. "I didn't realize how much I leaned on you until you weren't there," he said. I nodded. "That's usually how it goes." "I thought not naming things was safer," he continued. "But all it did was protect me." I let him finish. "I love you," he said. Finally. Clearly. Out loud. The words landed gently. Not like fireworks. Like closure. "I should have said it earlier," he added. "I was scared of what it would ask of me." I took a breath. "I know." He looked relieved by that. "So," he said carefully, "does this mean we try again?" I didn't answer immediately, because love wasn't the question anymore. Choice was. "I believe you," I said, "and I believe you love me." His shoulders relaxed. "But," I continued, "I can't go back to the version of us where I was waiting for you to be ready." "I am ready," he said quickly. "I know," I replied, "but readiness that comes after distance isn't the same as readiness that chooses freely." He frowned. "Are you saying no?" I thought about the nights we cooked together, the mornings that felt like home, the life we almost had. And I thought about how small I'd made myself to keep it. "I'm saying not like before," I said. "If we do this, it has to be equal, visible, chosen every day." He nodded. "I can do that. I don't doubt it," I said gently. "I just don't know if I want to rebuild something that taught me how to disappear." That truth hurt both of us. But it was honest. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, he reached across the table and took my hand. Not desperate, not pleading. "I'm grateful for what we had," he said. "Even if it doesn't continue." I squeezed his fingers once. "Me too." We hugged when we stood to leave. Not clinging. Not unfinished. Just two people acknowledging what was real. Walking home alone, I didn't feel empty. I felt complete. Because loving someone doesn't obligate you to stay if it costs you yourself. Weeks later, my life looked different. Not better in a dramatic way. Just quieter. Fuller. I laughed more easily. Said yes without checking with anyone else first. Built routines that belonged to me. And when love found me again, slowly, unexpectedly, it didn't ask me to shrink. It met me where I stood. We weren't basically married. We weren't almost anything. We were honest. And that finally was enough.